The invasion of Waikato in the 1860s by British troops was one of the turning points in the country's history. Yet the last single-volume history about this particular conflict was written in 1879. This week, a new book on the war against Tainui will be launched. The Great War for New Zealand was written by historian Vincent O'Malley. Te Manu Korihi reporter Aaron Smale sat down to talk with him about the book, the event it describes, and how we need to talk about our past.
The fact that Māori might have had higher casualty rates on a per capita basis than New Zealand troops suffered in World War I found that extraordinary, and extraordinary that nobody else was aware of these kinds of things, and so I really felt that there needed to be something to fill that gap. The appeal of Anzac Day and commemoration of World War I is obvious because it's a source of patriotic pride for us. And we stand together united as a nation to remember our fallen, whereas the New Zealand War's been a series of internal conflicts, I think creates a kind of uncomfortable silence. We don't really know how to deal with these issues. If you'd asked, your average person in the 1850s, who would the Crown most likely go to war with in the next 10 years, Tainui would be close to the bottom of their list because they were seen as doing so well and so incredibly loyal. An aspect of the story which I don't think has really been told before is just how dependent the settlement of Auckland was on Tainui. The settlers there would have starved in their early years, so Tainui fed them, they protected them. The notion that they would want to destroy their market, which is the allegation that's made against them in the 1860s, is ludicrous. Tainui have never forgotten things like the atrocities that were committed against their women and children at Rangiawhia, for example, or what really took place at Ōrākau, and so on. So those memories have been carried down through the generations, and they've even been reflected in the names that people are given. For example, a common name for many women within Tainui was mamai or pain, across many generations to sort of carry the remembrance of those events. Whereas, as I say, the story for Pākehā is kind of a more complex one, with this long period of myth-making followed by sort of complete silence.
That was historian Vincent O'Malley. His book, The Great War for New Zealand, is being launched at the Waihi Pā near Huntly this weekend, where a copy will be presented to Māori King Tūhetia.